Asset managers have delivered strong top lines for the past couple of years, but mostly driven by growth in asset value.
But the industry continues to face significant challenges, which in turn impact the post-trade world. Well, to talk us through what's happening in asset management and the hidden pressures on it, I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Sumitra, Karthikeyan, who is a partner at the Boston Consulting Group and leads their securities services practice globally. So a very warm welcome to Sibos TV, Sumitra. And look, there have been a number of key trends in the asset management industry over the years. So what are they?
As you mentioned, I think what is really interesting recently is that there's been the highest level of asset growth in almost over a decade. And I would think of it as an opportunity for the industry because while asset growth has been high, fee pressure continues. And this is across most products and asset classes. And I really do think that the industry has an opportunity to look at their cost in a very significant way to make use of this opportunity in asset growth and really improve the margins. Asset growth may not last forever, so this is really an opportunity for the industry to transform margins based on the cost and the product side.
Sumitra, what are some of the key challenges you see facing the industry right now?
Yeah, I think multiple. First of all, I think there is a lot of innovation happening in products, and companies that have embraced this and made the use of data and analytics to really improve returns in a very customized way for their investors, whether it's institutional or retail, are the ones who are getting the winning formula. Others who have not embraced product innovation in the same way are the ones that are seeing their returns really challenged. I would also say for long this industry is focused a lot on the investment side, the front office side, which makes a lot of sense. But increasingly the differentiation also comes from how you manage your cost structure, your operating model. And things like automation and digital play a very important role. And if you look around in financial services as a whole, I would say asset management's probably been a little slow to adapt to these changes.
And what impact are these trends actually having on the post-trade industry, given this backdrop against which it's being played out?
Yeah. So it's very interesting that the post-trade can be a way for the asset management industry to really improve the changes both on the cost side and truly leverage data. In some ways, they are dependent on the post-trade for the vast amount of data that they can harness. And they're also dependent on the post-trade to make significant changes in their cost model. So post-trade industry can really support the asset management industry in both of these trends. And I would say they're beginning to do so definitely on the cost side with more best of breed, front to back integration of the latest technology deploying digital. I would say on the data side, it's probably still early days. There's a lot of experimentation going on, but I don't think scalable solutions are to be seen in the industry yet.
There's obviously a lot of changes on the horizon. How are post-trade firms coping with the changes? What are they doing differently?
Yeah. I think the post-trade firms first started by looking inward in terms of improving what traditionally has been an operations-heavy processing industry to something that's a more digital and technology-savvy industry. But as they look inwards, I think they also understand that some of the learnings they've had, their own client base in terms of the asset managers can leverage. And so many of them are now working with their clients directly to understand what their needs are and helping them adapt digital in a faster way. That's clearly an area that we are seeing. The second one, I think, on data, as I mentioned before, it's still in experimentation stage, but firms that have been able to understand how to bring data in a very granular way, where latency is low, it's almost real time, definitely are beginning to see traction. API adoption is an example of that, where many of the large global custodians and even the smaller regional custodians are looking at APIs as a means to deliver data almost real time to their clients.
And let's stay with this idea of APIs as an example of adapting to these changes, because what would you see as the role of APIs between asset managers and post-trade service providers?
Yeah, so it's exciting, and I would be wrong to predict the future in terms of what will happen, but I think the first use cases we are seeing in API is really getting data in a real-time fashion, especially if you look at asset managers who are trying to differentiate themselves in passive strategy or alternative strategy. Data plays a very important role. And the difference between 1 bip of performance could really depend on how quickly you get the data, how granular you get the data in. Going forward, we see this as an area where there's a lot of value-added services possible, both for asset managers and then in turn for the asset managers to do it for their investor base. The post-trade industry collectively sits on a ton of really, really valuable data. I think so far there hasn't been a concentrated effort to bring that together, aggregate it, and provide value-added services on top of it. Part of it is because the quality of the data itself was not great to wrap your head around. So going forward, that's an area where I definitely see benefit for both sides of the industry. The post-trade servicing firms in order to better serve their clients and also manage their cost structure better, and for asset manager firms to differentiate themselves on products and performance, which is where they've been struggling in the recent past.
Sumitra, do you have a view on who's best positioned to take advantage of the opportunities of the changing landscape?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the past, this industry really depended on scale, and to some extent regulatory protection to be able to serve the industry. I think with the play of data and digital, I wouldn't say those two advantages go away, but they certainly diminish in strength to some extent. And so I don't think it's easy to say that certain types of firms will win in terms of size. But it's definitely clear that those who embrace data and digital in a way that is client-facing, not just internally for their own cost and operations, but to serve asset managers better, will both be able to get more business, but more importantly, more profitable business, because the asset management side is willing to pay for value-added services.
Okay, so challenging times ahead, but Sumitra Karthikeyan, Boston Consulting Group, thank you so much for joining us here on Sibos TV, and enjoy the event.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.